There's a parking lot outside a gym in any mid-sized city. Tuesday morning, 10:15. A man in his mid-30s locks a brand new German sedan with that specific, engineered sound, the kind of soft, solid click that costs money to design. He glances back once, not to check if it's locked. He knows it's locked. He glances back because someone nearby might be watching, and that someone matters in ways he hasn't fully examined and probably never will. Nobody is watching. But here's the thing, and this is the thing worth sitting with: it wouldn't have changed much if someone were. The glance happens either way. It's less about the audience and more about the confirmation. The car is there. It's real. It's his. And for a moment, standing in a parking lot on a Tuesday morning, that feels like evidence of something important. The car is somewhere between $60,000 and $90,000 depending on the options. He got the options. He's also, quietly, about $400 short on this month's rent. These two facts live in the same mind without visible conflict, and that coexistence is the most psychologically interesting thing happening in this entire scene. Not the car, not the debt, the comfort with both simultaneously. We should probably talk about why that is. The easy answer is ego. The easy answer is always ego, and the easy answer is almost always incomplete. Ego is just the word we use when we haven't looked closely enough at what's actually operating underneath. What's really happening here is more layered, more human, and significantly more uncomfortable than simple vanity. It starts with how we construct our sense of self, how fragile that construction actually is, and how urgently we need the external world to confirm what we've privately decided about who we are. Psychologists call this identity signaling. The core idea is that we use objects, cars, watches, clothes, neighborhoods, the particular coffee we're seen drinking to communicate who we are before we've opened our mouths. This is not a flaw exclusive to people with expensive tastes. Every human being does it, constantly, without thinking. The difference is that some signals cost considerably more than others, and some people are willing to stretch to pay for signals that feel, for reasons they couldn't fully articulate, absolutely essential to how they need to be perceived. Here's what luxury car marketing understood decades before most behavioral economists caught up to it formally. A car is not a transportation product in the mind of the person buying it. It's a projection device. You're not purchasing a machine. You're purchasing the version of yourself that drives that machine, the self that exists inside it. The daily, repeating experience of moving through the world as that person. And once advertising, aspiration, and 10 years of social media posts have made that version vivid enough, detailed enough, felt enough, the gap between what you currently earn and what the vehicle costs starts to feel less like a hard financial fact and more like a temporary misalignment between where you are and where you're obviously headed. There's a specific moment that most people in this situation carry with them, even if they don't describe it this way. They sat in the car at the dealership. Maybe they didn't intend to. Maybe they went in for something sensible. Maybe they were, as people say at luxury dealerships, with full mutual understanding, just looking. And then a salesperson who has watched this particular film many times suggested they try the seat, and they did. And the seat did something. The smell did something. The weight of the door did something. And quietly, without ceremony, the monthly payment they'd already calculated on their phone in the parking lot started sounding different, not smaller, just more acceptable, like a reasonable entry fee for feeling like this permanently. The behavioral mechanism behind that shift is real and well documented. When our sense of self feels threatened by a career that feels slower than it should be, by a social world that seems to be progressing faster than we are, by the ambient, low-grade anxiety of suspecting we haven't arrived at whatever place we were supposed to arrive at, we reach for external anchors. Objects that feel stable. Objects that feel elevated. Objects that feel like evidence against the internal argument nobody else can hear, but that runs constantly in the background. The car becomes proof. Proof of arrival. Proof of trajectory. Proof that the story we're telling about ourselves is not entirely fictional. And here is the detail that tends to get left out of every polite conversation about financial overreach. It works. Not financially. Financially, in most cases, this is a quiet catastrophe developing across 72 monthly installments. But psychologically, in the short term, and sometimes in the medium term, it genuinely delivers results. People treat you differently when you drive something expensive. This is not a perception or a fantasy. It is a documented social reality. Valets behave differently. Clients behave differently. First dates behave differently. The person behind the counter at the coffee shop behaves differently. And every one of those small social moments, individually trivial, collectively powerful, feeds directly back into the internal story. The car creates the perception. The perception changes the treatment. The treatment reinforces the identity. And the identity makes the payment feel increasingly justified. It is a feedback loop with its own internal logic. And once you are inside it, arguing your way out requires confronting things most people would rather not confront on a Wednesday afternoon. Social media did not invent this dynamic. Status signaling through objects is older than money, but social media optimized it with an efficiency that would have been unimaginable 25 years ago. The moment your daily life became simultaneously visible to everyone you grew up with, everyone you work with, and everyone you wish you impressed, the cost of projecting the right image increased dramatically. And luxury car brands, who are not naive about any of this, understood early that the right car in the right photograph could travel further and faster than any billboard they'd ever bought. They didn't sell transportation, they sold a story. They sold a story you could post and share and watch accumulate small red hearts from people whose opinions you shouldn't care about and absolutely do. The cultural context matters more than it's usually given credit for. There is a specific generational pressure on people who grew up consuming wealth as entertainment, 2 decades of reality television, music videos, and influencer content that taught them what success looks like in granular, specific, aspirational detail, who are now living in an economy where the traditional proof points of having made it are significantly harder to reach than they appeared on screen. The house requires years. The neighborhood requires decades. The retirement account requires discipline applied invisibly over a timeline the human brain is genuinely not designed to find motivating. But the car is available, right now, this weekend, with a credit score, a signature, and a manageable story about what it's going to do for how people see you starting Monday. This is the point where the financially responsible response would be to explain compound interest, to talk about opportunity cost, to build a spreadsheet showing what those payments become over 30 years if invested instead, all of which is arithmetically correct and almost completely irrelevant to the actual psychology of the decision. Because the decision isn't being made by the part of the brain that thinks in 30-year projections, it's being made by the part that has a clear, physical memory of how it felt to sit in that car, and a clear, social memory of how people looked at it. That part is not impressed by compound interest. It is impressed by the sound of a car door closing like a vault. There's a scene that plays out with some regularity in this world. Someone pulls up somewhere important, a dinner, a meeting, an event where the people present are the people whose perception matters. The valet takes the keys. The car moves, and for approximately 45 seconds, as it disappears and the people nearby register it, something happens in that person's chest that does not happen when they're reviewing their bank statement at midnight. Something that feels immediate and physical and completely worth it. The accounting arrives later. It always arrives later. The feeling arrives first, and feelings, as a consistent historical pattern, tend to be far more persuasive than spreadsheets. The part that lands quietly rather than loudly, the part worth actually sitting with, is this. The person making this decision is not confused about the numbers. They did the numbers. They did the numbers on their phone in the dealership parking lot before they even went inside. They just made a different calculation, one that the spreadsheet can't model because it's measuring something the spreadsheet has no column for: the specific, persistent discomfort of feeling like you haven't quite become who you're supposed to be yet, and the particular relief, expensive, temporary, surprisingly effective, of owning something that makes a confident argument to the contrary every single morning when you walk out the door. The car doesn't lie. It just tells a very specific story about a version of you that's slightly ahead of where the bank account currently places you. And sometimes the distance between who you are and who you're determined to become is exactly the length of a hood ornament. If you've ever made a financial decision that looked questionable from the outside, but felt completely logical from where you were standing, especially one with 4 wheels and a logo, someone else immediately recognized. Tell me about it in the comments. Not for judgment, because you're almost certainly not alone, and that conversation is far more interesting than any payment calculator. And if this is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe. We do this every week.